And so let us continue with rereading the last sentence, that this nirvanic nature that is measurable and numerable, okay, that has nothing to do with love. These are the sacred geometries of the orangutans and Hindu chimpanzees or Taoist thinkers, Zen zombies. This is a kind of even a sexual orgasm that you can measure the neurological pulse of it, or the kind of LGBT love of a sex addict, sexy psyche. And so this nirvanic nature, that dark Durga dragonic this tries to get everybody to buy and agree and fall into it, is called and also is characterized in Genesis 1 verse 2 as empty or tohu in Hebrew, or tohi in Persian, vain and void, psychic space, or we call it bohu in Hebrew, or bihude in Persian, and dark, dry, or khashek or khoshk in Persian and Hebrew. Unfortunately, so many of us scholars have forgot that they have to take a look at the Persian language and somehow, if not more, at least equal to the Arabic language for finding the Aramic roots of almost half of the Hebrew words. And so this nature, we call this nature, we will later on see, there is a distinguish between fetrat and tinat, or thanatos in Greek or Arabic or Persian, that is called the nature of the clay, or animalistic, monstrous nature, that the chimpanzee with the bigger muscles and a bigger White House has more wives, or has more homosexual androgynous apes to penetrate, and has a bigger, more luxurious type of kingdom. We call them King Kongs, or the gorillas in the nature. And so the other part is not Thanatos, or the tin, or the clay. The other one is called fetrat, that comes from the root word of father, and the Asura 35, one of the names of Allah, the only one creator that even Christ calls him, that is father, or fater, or father, or pidar, or Peter. And that comes from the root of feeder, or fater, which means that feeds you in addition, because this nature, this thanatos, is empty, or we call it tohu bohu khashek. It doesn't get filled up, no matter how many gang bangs you have, no matter how much homosexual sex you get there, no matter how much wealth you put in it, no matter how much lies you put there, no matter how many PhD degrees that are based on a garbage idea of global warming you get there, and how many Nobel Prizes bunch of other orangutans give you, that they don't actually have no idea about the reality on which they are floating and the deeper levels. That is not gonna get fulfilled. You cannot fulfill that. And so if you see a chimpanzee like Freud of this scarlet Aruna Argavan Arjun in Hebrew, sex beast, whose penis is inside the vagina of the Satan, or Shakti lady, and then his Freud or his Jungian psychology comes and tells you that let me deal with this psychology, and then down the line the Freud is one of those sick monsters that is thinking about penetrating her sister, having incest relationship to just release the hormonal suppressions, the sexual suppressions, and that kind of garbage theories. There are plenty of orangutans that are getting fancy degrees on that kind of psychology. But God says that that is sick. That psyche space is sick. I made it deliberately sick in 3 levels. We will later on see. And so nothing will fulfill that pit of the dirty, dark pit of desires. The only thing that fulfill it is there's only one thing. Allah. Allah, Hebrew strong 433. That's it. Love of the Yazdan Rahman. And so in a way, God has given us a car, and then the car, all that, there is a gigantic junkyard of the cars that belong to these Hindu and Buddhist baboons. They get the car from the company, they run out, and then they think, all right, here we go, we are independent, we don't need to the manufacturer of the car. Now we can genetically modify the car, make it like a gigantic big king trailer, or we can make it small, or we can make it super fast sport car, or different type of things. But the coolant in that engine of the system, you have to go back and get it from the manufacturer. That's like the post-sale type of service that you give to the people, and that is the Chrismahi cure or Christ Karimi cry that Creator gives you. And then once you have that olive oil circulating in your engine, then you can go wherever you want to go, in the highway or in the stairway back to the heaven, because now you know where the purpose is. However, if you cut your relationship from the manufacturer, you're not gonna get those kind of services, and you think that you are independent. Down the line, you end up with making a gun and pointing it toward the God that has already made you. That's precisely what we are in it now. Financially speaking, with the entire food, with the entire military, with the entire internet and cyberspace brainwash, Antichrist is getting the entire world to give him enough longitude of the tower, well, or enough depths in order to go and see the God of Moses, as we will read later on in Holy Quran, or even in Genesis 11. Anyway, so the other one is the father, or the fitrat. And so the father comes and says that I'm gonna feed you with my Christ Karimi, a first aid kit of chrismation. Once you receive that Bismillahi baptismal blood, then you are cured. And so this nature is tohu bohu cheshek, but the other part is what we are lacking in the modern psychology. We call it curing with the Ruhi religion of God, because the cornerstone is the cure. This shamanism does not lower the anxiety. What lowers the anxiety of a chimpanzee, because the chimpanzee has a built-in insecure psyche that wants power and needs to lean on a Federal Reserve banking system, or on Kabarai God of Wealth, or on Iron Dome defense system, in order to have psytrance festivals inside and say namaste like bunch of nirvanic Neanderthals to each other, and then think that, wow, how friendly and unconditional love and MDMA we are. Let's give us a back rubbing at that kind of thing. That's just like a fancy bubble, okay? The other part comes and says that the anxiety lowers not by getting stoned on drugs, okay, or not by giving and administering psilocybin mushroom to the poor patient in Johns Hopkins University so that they can die better and with a lower anxiety level, because they are tripping and they don't know what the hell is going on. They are neither awake nor in coma or in dream state, and so that's not going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem is the truth. And so if you are a person that have anxiety, you don't need to go to a modern psychiatrist or a Hindu orangutan inside the tuxedo suit that is giving psychology degrees. Psychology is psychology, or the sociology. We call it in Persian, or in Middle Eastern language, sagilogy. Sagilogy means dogilogy, or we call it filth. The real reason behind we say that the dog is dirty, there's no problem with dog, okay? Dog is just like any other lovely animal. But the dog, we say روی سگمون رو ببینیم in Persian, or we say that don't let me show you my doggy face, okay, like my animalistic, angry, uncontrollable type of face that makes NATO and then makes all sort of garbage things and then goes and bullies around. So that is called sagi or psyche or sukhi or suki. We will look at the root word of the psyche, but the psychology that comes and says that LGBT love is a good, and then the mental health is a health that kind of accommodates with these sinful orangutans that we call them sodomite and homosexuals. That is a sick psychology, okay? The other one comes and says that I am the manufacturer of you, I am the feeder, and I'm gonna give you the olive oil in order to cool, or a coolant in your engine, so that you don't get thermal or nuclear meltdown in your system, so that you don't end up in making God particles, okay? So that comes and says that come and then eat it for the remembrance, eat the curing, the cure or the Christ, in order to remember the God, because the Christ is the link to Allah. And so that's what the father or the feeder or the feeder or the fater gives you. That is called fetrat. So we have the nature, which is empty, and then we have another nature, that is the heavenly nature. This is a dummy nature. We will look at it. This is a damut, or in the likeness of God, or in the likeness of the tree of life, is the shadow realm that we are living in it. Anyway, so the psychic space is tohu bohu cheshek, nothing in it. All of these down the line, you end up with this, because this is empty, and you can puff it, and then you end up in having the pride parrots. So this genesis gene junk of n nun nar or basically energy is like plain page. This is one of the signs of the Gog and Magog. They call it tree of life or whatever garbage it is, but it is just nothing but part of the sacred geometries or the plain page. Okay, these orangutans don't know any writer or any primordial pen or any love story, because they can only see the page. They are illiterate. They are mathematicians, and they made all sort of quantum garbage stuff, but they cannot read a love story. The love story is junk for the mind of a Descartesian modern scientists that knows only one thing: add a number to something and measure it, and then through statistics and probability distribution, and then you can talk about everything just through numbers at those. And this is the This is the background upon which LGBT love is established itself and has taken its category itself from being categorized as the mental condition. Is like a plain page or base blanket or empty pot. It's just empty. It echoes. That like a sucked soil or mokshad mud is dharmically dry unless Ruhi Rak of Allah rains love light as his calcareous cloud into it, or as his paternal pen plume writes wines words into it, or adds consciousness into it. That's the legend or basically a love story, something that is added to that piece of paper that can end up to a masterpiece of a masterpiece or a novel. But again, without that, like a cow, you show it to a book, the cow will eat the paper because it thinks it's just or a kind of animal. These Nobel-winning animals, they don't know how to read that love story. There is nothing to conquest, because again, the orangutan or the chimpanzee wants to conquest the nature. That's why the Devi Deva that came into the dream of, that is not, he's not dreaming, the René Descartes. René Descartes is on the mushroom. He's another, some people call it Illuminati, some people call it Freemason, some people call it the Phrygian cap owners of Mitra Surya. I rather to call them the raised digits or bodhisattvas. He's another bodhisattva, and so these bodhisattvas are trying to conquest the nature in order to go and attack to the heaven, just as we read in Genesis 3 verse 20 to 23. Now that they know where the tree of life is, they want to attack to that. That's it. And so this is a war on power, period. And so these queer and cursed and LGBT friendly orangutans that want to conquest, and so there is nothing to conquest in that Christian carpet field farm Egypt Babel of moving corpses. That's why we call them parasite, because the spirit of Parvati is a parasitic spirit. It's overtaken the churches. Churches are turned into gay clubs. The remaining resistance ones are failing, and they don't know how to even communicate with their Muslim mosque brothers and sisters or their neighbors. Their connection to the Yahudahi brothers and sisters, or the Knesset treasure box of of the slaves of God is disconnected, and so we don't have the consensus in order to be able to fight the virus. That's why the system is going to be shut down by the Creator. And so the conquerors of this nature that now have the American, Chinese, Russian empire of Antichrist are now, or the scientific apes, artist shadows, merciless numbers and meaningless measures. These are all going to to attack to the heart space, unless a human heart picture who is fulfilled with love, life, full liquor of La ilaha illa, love lording. There is no God except Allah, or Allah, Hebrew strong 433. That's the only way that in this space can be fulfilled. And so whoever has both modern psychology or psychiatry or that kind of things, they don't know what's going on. And if they know, then they have already accepted their sickness, because they are not going toward the cure, right? They put just like the Darwin, dirty Darwin of the devil, the harsh sound that we read about it in the Ezekiel 8 chapter 8. That means that they are not receiving the breeze of Allah, or Tabrizi Briza of Allah. Who is that Tabrizi Briza? We call him Ruh Allah, or Ruh of Allah, or Wajh Allah, or Christ the Karimi, breeze of God. And so these are the rejectors, and they are all bodhisattvas of Antichrist, or Phrygian caps. Contrary to unpowered Kant cult of Dark Durga, Dragon, Druj, which emphasizes on returning and flattening and dampening to equilibrium in nirvanic death plane, or foamy page. They call it dharmaing. Okay, this dampening and sticking, it is called dharmaing, or holding to the page. They all say, the death forces, they say hold to the page. Doesn't matter the love story. They say don't read the love story. Don't read that pen. That makes you crazy, because that love story, this is how the gatekeepers and pigs are getting the animals to remain illiterate with plenty of university degrees at the end of time. They say don't read the love story, or don't read the Bible or Holy Quran. Those are the books of the ancient times. They were the primitive people. They didn't know what's going on. They believed in superstitious issues and that kind of thing. They say stick, keep chewing the foamy page, or this garbage. And so that's how you muff your opportunity of going back to the heaven into ignorance. They say you are the page, you stick into the page. And so Isa Messiah, he penned word of Allah, gets his golden bridle to read and witness the burning bee book boulder of love life. This is the crux of consciousness that many of us unfortunately are failing. And enjoy the purposeful meaning of the love story between Allah and his lamb. Again, like any other kind of love that comes out, we know, even like the love of a mother or a father to its baby, that has only two genders, emerges as a branches of the love between God and his religion, Allah and lamp. And so they make Allah says and lampi pen. So Christ is like, we will talk about Christ is I need 400 slides to explain why is Christ, who is Christ, when is Christ, where is Christ, how is Christ. The language is insufficient. And so Subhanallah, Salam Yazdan Rahman upon Isa Yazatay Azizamon. And so every kind of love that we know, even the love between two LGBTs, that the fake love is a kind of shadow love of that, because that creator and his pen has written the word of both of these, and now they have fallen in each other, and then they are ignoring the instructions or the handbook or the manual that God has given, so that they can have a healthy fruitful love making in sexual world and in outside of the psychic space, outside of that. And so meanwhile that monkey moles of cursed Krishna scratchy pig dig, eat and plow the plain of the peaceful pages like Trimurti termites. Okay, they are just eat the page. These are the Pharisees, these are the scribes, these are the Jewish junk that on the surface call that they are Hebrews, and they have anything to do with Yahudaism or Allahidism or Yah, the only what God, Hedhodoism. But under the surface, they are just Ankh apes of, or the Bodhisattvas, or the raised digits of Curse Krishna Scratch or Fartful Pharaoh. And so, like Thermos, Christ the Karimi teacher gets his students to read the Subhanallahing story that is written, wind, water-worded on the plane of the peaceful pages. Meanwhile, that the Harry Hellions and the hippie echoes of the emptiness are dropping LSD, doing breaths of fiery pranayama. I've learned all of these garbage things in the Jezebel class. Stretching like molten shapes and psychedelized splats, acid washed splats that are losing the ink of the word, but then the word is becoming, it's just like a blob or a splat of the ink, but it doesn't have any meaning into it. It's just bunch of a jumble of letters of Shaktic shadow, and hoping that their anti-Christian Obama or Shiva Lingam is swastika, or the straight dildo of end-time feminism, or ultra-masculine bullying Washington Monument, or 30-qubit Metatron cube will kill the Tarshishi lamp of Christ the Karim, and will save them from judgment day door of God, of Allah and Isa Messiah's prostrating heart pictures and merciful mirrors are thankfuling and radiating back his love lightful radiance by thanking and mirroring back, and his shine shaloming salam signal, and thus fulfilling the paradisiac purpose of their creation. This is how the free will is being used by these two poles. That's like a allocation of the free will in these two poles that Allah has given to us, between Christ and the Satan and Barack Obama. These are two different classifications of boundary dissolving. One is to expand and spread like a elastized carpet or farshan of Krishna clay. There is more meaning and connotation associated to these. Surah 6 verse 1 verse 142. But of Krishna clay or Kikang energy or Galilee garden ghee, we are two types, but basically whatever you lift up, no matter how much energy and gemstones you go and pick up from the Manipura, sometimes you become as heavy as 5,000 shekels, like the Yogi Guru Goliath or Jalut. That is 170 meter in physical height and about 65 to 70 kilograms. And so, but it is still a carpet, or we can look at it in a heavy, as a heavy anvil, but it's still carpet. If we look at the weight as a different measure, it depends on the coordination system, the system of measurement, how you measure and add number. Of Krishna clay or Kikang energy, these are all measurable things, or Galilee garden qi, قد تبين رشد من الغي or غي or غيقong or kikong, or like an Abu Dhabudanic bubble of LGBT proud air puff, and talk about unconditional love of an MDMA splat or molten magog, And the other type of the boundary dissolving is to rapture up into a holy hoop of messianic martyrs who are doing the Great March of Return rally of 2018. These people are killed. These are the winners of our time, the ones that are killed while they have been throwing Allahu Akbar into the face of those orangutan army, or the Muslim army of bin Salman, or the Muslim army of Erdogan, or the Christian army of Trump, or the Hebrew or the Jewish army of Netanyahu. Doesn't matter, they're all working for the Antichrist. The winners are the ones that are Great March of Returning to home, and they have now are actually in home. They are the winners. Or like Hezbollah heroes and Nazarite nightingales of Hassan Nasrallah, Nazarati Allah. It doesn't matter if bunch of orangutans and the UN call these people as terrorists. It's actually, again, I take it as compliment. But who I have to here add, I think, Sardar Qasem Soleimani, beautiful IRGC warrior, world-class warrior. Inshallah, he is going to lead the army from Khorasan after my death, attack to the gay Israel of these cursed sodomites and cursed LSTs hippies, who are fulfilled with lampy light, load of La ilaha illallahing love light. One parasitic and parasitic purpose ties insecurity to conquest the nature with more empowered control. That's what the mans of power want, more power, whose survival of the fittest of Darwinism depends on fullest amount of energetic engulfment of mindfulness and mindful spreadness and masculine dominance, like Shakyamuni master tenants and geophagical garden gurus of pearly parable of Luke 29-19. And the other type of the purpose is simply to reach to beloved and end the long distance relationship. Simple, straight, perfect. By the way, before going ahead, we have, in addition to carpet, that some people are actually, is mentioned that some people are carrying, in addition to being carpet, some are carrying the load. Now, you can look at the heavy gurus. Guru comes from the root word of Geran in Persian, or Sanskrit means heavy. And these are the vampires that eat soul, okay, not the shekel. We will talk about that. But again, I consider them here as fashion, but they are Yahmelo Awzar of Qom. But the other type is some that are carrying a payload, like me, a prophetic payload, or a story to tell you, or a reminder, or warning, the last warning if you are sodomite and if you want to win the ticket to heaven, or if you are a cursed yogi or hippie and you want to become a member of the book of life. And so those are the ones that are carrying a weight that are not flat. They have camel wools around them, wrapped around them. And so unfortunately, Pink Panther splatters and hippie psychonauts, which have received the Shakti's Shakya shock, or the scarlet ministration of the scarlet beast, Revelation 17:3, or those words which are expelled by under Indra thunderbolt. They are crushed under the iron feet of the Vishwarupa image of Daniel 2 verse 35. They are just become nothing, extinct, which are spelled by understandable and turned into a genie jumble of meaningless letters, vowels that call the sound of Om Mani Padme Hum as sacred. They lack consciousness to read and understand, and literacy to read and understand the merciful meaning of the Bismillahi book, Logos Logate, in Arabic, in Hebrew, in Greek, or Balagh al-Mubin in Holy Quranic language. It's talking about the same John 1:1 of love life. And that's why they cannot catch the Haniyahi love light of the burning Bible. And so they are left, like Ali says, to admire the spider ritual web, supersymmetrical strings, sacred geometries, and Egyptian wonders of the Nar field, or the Nun field of or the energy field, that about 125 giga electron, where they find the God particle in it. A field that Baraki swastika or Savasetike, standing 6 pieces hexagram, Tau is trigram in different languages, Arabic, Hebrew, and Sanskrit, has to show, Savasetike has to show and entertain them for a while. Meanwhile that he's killing the Hamas and Hezbollah, his saints, Daniel 7:21, of God in Gaza, in Syria, in Yemen, or in Burma and Rohingya, and then gives to his murderers Nobel Peace Prizes, and then calling them as Iran-backed terrorists. In Durga Dragon, Draggers Bell, or Budapest brainwashing machine, or cyberspatial propaganda net, inter the net. We have some garbage lies to give you. That's why we read about mortem words of Dark Durga Dragon, Greek 1404, or Daraka, or in Revelation 22, or Darak, or Darakan, or Drug, or Drog, not that drug, but Drug in PIE root of Avesta. We call it this is the antithesis of the Jasper Stony essence of Isa and Yazdan. Allahi Yazdan, Asura Mazda. So this is the lie, or the drug in Germany language, or the drugger in Old Norse. They are all coming from the same root. Also have it in the Darakan, or Darakul as well, is another name of Durga in Holy Quran. And in basically in Holy Quran we are using the same terminology of Avesta, with a little bit of changed its pronunciation. And here Barack Obama, tiger lion, or the penis inside the vagina of the Satan, or Shakti. Dajjalic, Dadichik Dracula, or Dark Durga Dragon, Drager Kula, or the shoulder, or Kul, or Kalle, or whole clan piggyback mastermind, the piggybagger, or the charioteer, or rider, that is cooling or dragging on his cool on his shoulder, the Liberty Lady. If you look at the Liberty Lady, she's standing on 11-pointed star, or the 11 horn of the Dajjal, the Barack Obama. If you don't see the 11 horns, take a look at the news. You see Erdogan barking, or bin Salman barking, or this Chinese zipping, or they're all the 10 horns that are giving their full power to this chimpanzee to go to war with Christ very soon. Meanwhile, that you are, they get you to think about global warming and recycling and that kind of garbage. Have they not seen that we made the meaningful cow book of Isa Messiah with meaningful milk to be a safe sanctuary? Salam City, Amenahi, Tur al-Amana or Temple, Tur 3, Mount Haram or Haramon, or Exodus 25:40, the Mount of God, the Mount Sinin or Mount Amen or Tur al-Ayman. While pagan and LGBT and Baha'i and hippie and Hindu people are being kidnapped and taken away into Hariher Hole or Darak al-Asfal or Dark Durga Dragoni packages of lie. This is the blessing that God is saying you. Can't you see? Let us just read it faster. Have they not seen that we made a safe sanctuary, the cornerstone that doesn't sink, while the people that are buying lie are being kidnapped, are taken away and disappear. They are here, but the Dracula sucked their soul. They are in the bag that the naked emperor is going to dump it into the hellfire of regret. And they are being kidnapped. They are here, but they are doing yoga. They are going to hell. They are receiving the mark of the beast on the forehead, on the hand. They are getting plenty of the serpent petrodollar signs or the Chinese yen sign. And so they are being zip silent because they are not the salt of the earth anymore, or the tasteful people that that are full of Allahi anarchy. They don't comply with the system. They become silenced, and so into Harihel, into Sin Hole, into Dark Dragon by Dajjal, Dracula, Fitna, Masih had Dajjal, like me and even my wife or my brother Ali Akhi that are receiving the plagues of the Bible. Come out of it, my people, so that you don't receive the plagues of the Bible. This is talking about the people are being kidnapped or becoming plagued or becoming taken away. This is a real, that's why I call the LGBTs as well as like my soulmate, my love lady, that is not the ordinary LGBT, is a very filthy LGBT, is the sickest type of LGBT that is so proud, that brings that pant of that sack of sick excrement into the church of God and then open it and then rub it on the face of the people. This you have to be again, like the Hindus are like the innocent babies in front of those hypocrite Hindus that worship the Antichrist in a kirtan ceremony, not as a participant but as a major singer of that kirtan crap, and then the next day you come to the church of the Christ after a night of worshiping Antichrist, and then you talk about gay marriage, and you give a sermon about the filthy Hindu like Ramdas. Or a Bodhisattva like Albert Einstein. But anyway, these are the people that are kidnapped and taken away because they are not standing on the cornerstone. And so that's why throughout the witness I would call them as the victims of Dajjal. And they are actually running the universities. They believe in quantum physics. They believe in heliocentrism. They believe in global warming. Any kind of these things that you believe, that you have bought, you're buying lie. And then who is the lie factory? We call it Dark Durga Dragon Dragar. Start reading Holy Avesta and then kiss that book, and then you will see who the hell she is, the Liberty Lady. By Dajjal Dracula, which is the Geomudra mark and his L-state scratch Krishna, Sanskrit language, or Kharash in Persian, or Kharash in Hebrew, 2790. These are all coming from the same, or in English language we call it crescent or crescent, or curse or khrash. Heart Death by Kali Sickles, Cursed Crescent, or Sickle Yinmun, or Piggy Plowshare. That's the meaning of this cursed Hare Krishna. So my love lady is actually is just not sodomite, but is just has received all of this, and then this is the level of the sickness of the patient that I'm trying to cure all around them. Meanwhile, that they are innocently worshipping around Allahi heartward of his Amenahi Turturi temple, or Logos lamp, or Messianic mount of 7 mosque churches. It is a slaughterhouse out there, out of the rocky bedrock of Allah, the right hand of Allah, the Christ Kareem, or the religion rock of Allah. It is all sinking sand dunes outside of the Medina. That's where the Dajjal is. The Muslim scholars, if you are a Muslim scholar and listening, don't look around the sand dunes around that Medina. That Medina is going to be terminated very soon. We are talking about the eternally everlasting Medina. That Medina is the heavenly Medina, and outside of it there are plenty of the people that are receiving PhD degrees in order to be able to manage their lives in the Dajjal infected world. It's a slaughterhouse out there. If you're and so it's a blessing. Be thankful to God if you are at these hours, these darkest and most frightening hours of history, if you are in a church and in a mosque, and then you are doing, and then if they're getting bombing or making violence between Muslims and Christians and that kind of thing, those are all the noises that these jealous orangutans that have received the plagues out there and full of thorns and thistles in the middle of wilderness, and the scorpions and tarantulas have bitten them. They are kind of jealous. They want to take you out of that, standing out of that sanity slate or the slab. Stay there, hang on, put on your garment of faith that this bubble is going to burst very soon, or Christ is going to come, or we're going to go to the presence of the Christ King. That's the better interpretation that I like, actually. Who the hell are we to for the king to come? We're going there. Out of 7 mosque churches in animal form of master pigs with cursing crescents or scratching sickles of psychedelic drugs. Then in falsehood do they believe. This is Avesta in Arabic. That's what they call Holy Quran. And in protective chroma or Christ Karimi anointment, Nu'am, Ne'emat of Allah. This is the Ne'emat is going to be closed very soon. Ayatollah, or the favor of the God, Zechariah 11:10. Grace, favor, blessing of Allah. And so to the Ne'emat of Allah, do they disbelieve? I try to bring that Ne'emat one more time into the table of any yogi or any cursed hippie. I have plenty of friends that are actually going to hell. We'll see if I can, inshallah, bring that Ne'emat and then get them cured. So indeed you will not make the waking dead hippie or zombie or the dead hippies of the zombie apocalypse in yoga mats. which are Krishna curses scratch or crashed or crescent to hear. They think they found it. That's it. Unconditional love. So let's just drop a little bit of MDMA and then go to a yoga class. Or we found the happy, healthy, hippie meaning of love. But the real love is a little bit buried somewhere securely with a little bit of tests around it. Behind those tests of sadness, there is absolute Islamic ecstasy. Call it Sufi Safa, Sufi Sama, which is the source, who is or where is or when is the source of language. Here, so they don't hear, hey? So the messianic word of Allah, nor will they get heart chopped and head shot and open-minded deaf or some in Samadic stone hear the compassionate kamkal or dua or da'avat or da'at. This is the da'at of or the Christ the Karimi kamkal of Creator. Because Creator King, Allah, He King, does not come to you and say, hey, worship me. Hey, He sends a intermediary agent. And who is that? He is the Christ, or He is the finger of God. He comes and pokes you, and then you look at the hand, and then hand will show you, oh, you see the face. Oh, that is the Creator. Oh, holy, holy, holy. Something like that. And so they are muffing all of these love stories into ignorance because they are stick to dharma, into their bloody yoga mats. And so this is the Genesis chapter 2 verse 9. This is the knowledge of good, or da'at, or in Hebrew, or da'wat in Arabic, or idea, ida'a, idda'a, or da'wat in English language, idea. This is a good idea, a healthy idea that gives you insight, and so they cannot hear the call or the du'ahi idea of Christ the Karimi loudspeaker or piano pen of Allah Creator. They are like aesthetically with a very junk taste, like they flirt with the singing bowls and then shove crystals into their orifices, or do or penetrate dildo and vibrators into themselves and do all sort of things, and then they think that we're getting there, but they are losing the real harmony of the miraculous music, the messianic music that the Creator composer or Allah composer is playing. This is like the higher, this is another class of consciousness, that you have to have a little bit of training in order to see the delicate nature, that nature, fitrati nature, or father nature, Surah 35, of this music that is being played from piano pen. We also call the Christ Karim as the tambur of Allah, tambur or tampura in Sanskrit, in Indian culture. It is known as tampura or tambur. When they turn their backs, retreating toward their meditation, masturbation, retreats, and silence graves, silent graves, and sickening sounds. Again, these are that's why they are called apes, eh? And you cannot guide the blind away from their evil uful, a falioni error. That's the problem. The sleepwalking blind, you cannot but there are many types of blind. We don't have time. There's a very beautiful Persian poetry for it, but there are some people that are blind and you can wake them up. They are like sleeping and they're sleepwalking. You can wake them up if you poke them. But there are some people that are pretending that they are sleeping and they're deliberately closing and grudging their eyes and they don't want to open. Those retards, you cannot wake them up. But if someone is sleeping and being brainwashed, then you can wake them up. You will only make here Sufi saying Sama or Shama or Sama of Subhanallah in Shama'im of the Hashem Allah, or the Ism or the Logos or Logat or the name in the first line of the book of life. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And so the entire Shama'im hears or samas into Be'esm or Be'esm or Eshem or Hashem or Hashem, or the name or the word or the logos or the logat in Arabic or in Greek of Allah. And so they hear, that's why it is called Shama'im. This is another way of hearing. This is different from hearing sounds, okay, like Om Mani Padme Hum, those kind of. This is hearing the meaning. This is the hearing the love, real love, okay. And so you will only make hear those who believe in Christ, in our victorious wine verses, or wine verses that are being dropped from the Christ, the cow Christ cup of Creator, or water words. So they are Muslims. In Islam, Christian, ecstatica or drunkenness. They have surrendered. Once they hear this melody of the mercy, this messianic melody of the mercy, or what the radio rock or the loudspeaker, Logisi loudspeaker of the Creator source is playing, then they lose themselves and they become surrendered. And so, contrary to the rats that are following the emperor, the naked emperor, or the pipe fluter, like the Beelzebub, the Muslims or the Islamic Christian ships, they are in ecstatica, or drunkenness or submission. This is what we call it childish. You don't enter the kingdom unless you are drunk, and then like a dreaming sheep, you're following your shepherd into the kingdom of heaven. To shine shaloming wine, syrup, sharab, syrup or sharab, coming from the same root of Allah. And we have certainly presented to the sober people, or sucked and dried and mokshat pots in this Qalbi Qur'an from every Mirkahi example. But Rozahi Muhammada, if you should bring them a sign, the dried disbeliever, cleaned off pot, wiped off pitcher, kafar, kifur, covered off, that covered off means that the pot is closed, or the seal, or if you through chrismation or smear chrismation, they will cover it up or wipe it off, or kafur or kafar or kafir, coming from the same root, will surely say you are but falsifiers. Thus does Allah bring, thus does Allah tab or seal or taboo, comes from the same root. The hairy hard pictures of those who don't know how precious is his wine. You have to be a connoisseur of the Nazarati wine, who openeth the heart to understand that what is speaking about harm and guiding and benefit means. And so this is Hebrew 28:85. This is yatba'u, or sealing of the heart. And so once the heart is sealed, then your UFO or your Vimana or Merkaba field is just going between your penis or your vagina all the way to your mind. You don't have a heart. You follow this or you follow that, and then you think that is the love. That is the yogi love. And so you remain in the state that is actually equal to what the apes have. And the more you kind of circulate in that thing, you are not going up, you are eviling or fooling or low or descending down into that psychic space. You become more a more dependent prison to the system. How precious is his Vaina, who opens us the heart to understand what speaking means. And so once sealed or tapped of sodomite Barak sits on a locked heart pitcher, if an ocean of Isahi Vaina is poured, once you make the pot upturn, no matter how much Vaina you pour on it, one Duahi drop will not go into it. No matter how much you rain and shower on it, nothing will go there. It will not be able to receive the love lightful liquor, because it is virus program. Its virus program word is operating under a Kabbalistic conception and prioritized perception and Parvatic possession of three states: Brahmanic Ain, or unknown, or basically this is what we call Ain thing, or eye of antelope, or nothing, that emerges into an Ein Sof or Saf, or the Ein Sof Getshemani, Ein Sof Getsheman, yes, yes. So let's stop here. For the Gethsemane, we have the Gethsemane garden. If you have heard that, it comprises of the Get or the goat, or if you know, if you have heard Gautama of the Buddha Abudam, this is the goat, or goat in Persian, or goat in English, or God in Hebrew. They're all coming from the same thing. And then Toma or Tom or Tatame, or the deep goat pit. The Get Shaman means, and Shaman comes from shamanic or cement. And so Get Shamani means the goatee semen, or the psychic leftover, the pit of the psychic leftovers of leftover pottery paste, filthy foam, fat psychic scum, shamanic cement. That's the meaning of the Gethsemane garden that the Christ is going, is actually not in this realm. At the last, after the Last Supper with the apostles. And so, which then, so after the end, they reached the Ein Sof, or Ein Sof Gethsemane, which then gives rise to Baraki thunderbolt of Ein Sof hour, or Hor, or hour, or basically heat. That is coming from this and then reaches to the periphery, that is rounding around the Ein, and then getting to the Ein Sof hour, and then conducts the heat to the third level. These are basically three states that are working, three rings that are working around the black hole. And these three rings together are giving life, a fake lie, full life to nothing. And so entire pagan population and the pagan spirit and the genes that are behind that spirit and guiding, or the devils that are guiding that spirit, and the Satan spirit and the Antichrist spirit, all together are giving a fancy, unconditional, lovey animation to what? This black hole. That's what the dark forces in the universe are trying to get you to buy that. Quantum possibility, and we will scrutinize on the quantum relativity, about the tree of knowledge of ill, idea or da'at or evil. Anyway, so and so ends of our or Harry hit that as Qatuka Bahini, or Qatuk or Qati, or mixing Bahini Singa. This is another name of the Antichrist. Qatuk Bahini Singa, or the tiger of the Durga dragon, dark Durga dragon in Dragar. Or the matchmaking thunderbolt, or the pollinator is another name of the Dracula that produces a zombie apocalypse with plenty of rock and roll music and funky university systems and education system and heliocentric models and then global warming ideas and Mars missions and all sort of junk things. Anyway, Qatuka Bahini Singa is another name of Barack Hussein Obama, or matchmaking thunder, but pollinates the earth with meaningless energy of Qi or gay, Qi or Riki or Riki. If you know about the Riki, you can read about the Riki in Asura 2 verse 256. We call it Qai, or pharaonic Ra'a. Like Pharaoh comes from the same part, although the Qi is separate, but it is like the Rad or the energy, the Riki energy or the real energy that he receives from the Dishitian or Satan, or D, which means Gog or Emperor, plus Shi or psychic Shikus, or Suki or Psyche, or Shakti, Shaku in Japanese, and or Sagi in Persian, in Chinese language too. These are all meaning the same thing. Shi or energy, or Suki, Sukik, burn, release, or Shait or fire, freedom, plus Tian or Teen or Thanatos or Tinat or Tinat, or the heavenly hellhole. Heaven is another name of the same thing in Tian or in Chinese. And so, or this here, or that is, or the ethnos, the root word of the ethnos. And so, the heavenly hellhole, or Ghana, or Khane, we call it in Persian or Sanskrit, or Ghana or Khane, of soil, or the home of the soul, the psychic space. Or so altogether it becomes Dishitian. That's the meaning of the part of the Dishitian. In one way, the other one is the Satyan or Sadnam or Satan. Or Sadna, or 100 names, or Satanama or Sadnam, the hundreds of the names of Zeus, Deus, Pita, and so altogether it becomes the emperor of the energy, psychic energy, and they call this as heaven, or the teen, or we call it in Arabic as the clay, or the base clay. But again, that Tian is considered as hellhole, And so for the dark forces, their heaven is the hellhole of the light forces. And so it is because of this mass distribution of Dracula's scientifically seasoned reductionism, which seems uplifting for empowered powerlifting, that Matthew 24:22 says that if those days of Durga dragging Dracula had not been shortened, no flesh or muddy mind whose heart picture is fulfilled with Haniyahi love light would survive from getting PhD degrees and master degrees, or becoming pollinated with evil ideas, or becoming sealed, tabooed by Baraki Thunderbolt of Under Indra's Durga Dragonic Den. But for the sake of the elect, the ones that the Great March of Returning ones whose houses are destroyed, or the Burma and Rohingya ones that are being killed, or the brothers and sisters in the underground churches in China, whose churches are being burned, and Islamic Christian Israelis, or the resistance forces of IRGC, Hamas, Hezbollah, the ones that are bothering the Antichrist and his global government. Those days will be shortened. Amanah Yahi Wallah. Later on, we will talk about this tab or yatba, think in detail. It is enough to say here that it turns the ruhi reigned heart picture of a humble human back to its basic emptiness, or dump the wine inside it out, or the natural nakedness, which is called by Christ the Karimi heart pictures as yatba, which is the same root word, or taba or tab is the same root word of the tabi'i or tabi'at, or the taboo, or the nature or natural instinct, which is animalistic sex drive of the apes. That's it. They don't know anything else. Or basic temper of a six particle, psychic, higzik, Sukhi, Sagi, An'ami, animalistic, Asura 6 particle. According to Ganesha gnosis of amnesia genuses, amnesia, amnesia in Arabic, nasa or nasha in Hebrew, amnesia in it's coming from the same root word. Genuises, the ones that genie has come into their nuances. Of Nazi nations, nations also come from the same root word of nuas, or nashan, or nashat, or nasha, whose four-fingered noses, they put forefinger in their noses, and so the nuas works in an empty state, prevent them to receive the Bismillahi brisa of love life. This dharmically derived moksha anthroposes, clay pots, abomination, taboo, can be eaten and analyzed, and geophagically can be eaten, analyzed geophagically by mole monks or miners or the masters of the farm, and then categorized as one of the four funky elements and foamy forms of salty water, arrow gas air, or sick soil, or stinky eggy gas, or flatulence wind. And so they have the air, winds, water, fire, but they're all again part of the same basic, which is nothing. And so that is how ain't assumption of Ein Sof, our psychopath, or Buddha Abudan, Bodhi, Abudan, Hebrew strong, well, or Greek tree, or Bodhi, Abudan or Buddhi. In Avesta or Pahlavi language, we call this as the number one enemy of the people of God, as Buddhi. Both means idol, or the standing, or the badly budded body. These are the same root words of Buddha or Buddhi. Budded idol of arrow, gas, wind, we call it Bad Battle. And so in Avesta we call it Boiti or Buddhi. There are many names for him. We will talk about all of them, but this is the name of Barack Hussein Obama. Chops down the meaningful love into a four-letter word of LOVE, and after numbering and measuring its dead and leftover sounds, this is called reductionism, continues to weave his spider ritual web or ankabut in Hebrew or in Arabic or in Persian 2141, and conquest the nature of natural instincts or tab by making the Shakyamuni science of sex abomination or sex particle. And so again, the Shakyamuni masters, or Shakya, or comes from Sakya or Sexia or Sukya or Psychia, and so these are the psychopaths, or the ones whose psychic powers are boosted drastically by eating the dead psyche, or the dead leftover psyche, or the shamanic semen in Gardana, in Gautama, Buddha Gautama, in Gautama Goti God, or the pit of goat, pit of or bottomless pit of the empty smoke, or soil, or salt water. And so we also call it Sikh Shakti, or Shikuts, or Sakat, or Shaku, or Shijian. This is the she of or the C of Satan, comes from Si Tian or Shi Tian. And so that is basically Sagi Tian, or doggy, or energy bomb, or energetically reinforced or boosted Tian, or clay energy. Shijian, so like shock energy of or six, or secretion, that also we call it as Sagat. This is the root word of the Shakti, and that they call it energy, and so that energy is coming from the drop and descending. You don't receive the energy if you want to stay on this plane. In order to receive the energy, you have to fall into the rabbit hole of the Alice in the Wonderland, and that's how you receive energy. But again, by receiving energy, you are in fully evil. That's how you receive energy, psychic energy. And so Sagar Shakar, we will talk about it, or the hunt, deceiver, Sakrat. These are all part of the Shakyamuni cult. They drink from the Shakar or Sakrat, or the salt water potion, or sex shocky secretion, that gives them the power of tantric orgy, tantric sex, power lifting, lifting up stones, sitting in meditation, all of those psychic powers that are actually power of nothing, Maya, mirage. It is not Moses who has forgotten the truth and the beauty, as this orangutan was saying in Asura 20 verse 88 or 77. It is this Abudabudanic King Kong of agonic hatred, or the fire of the hatred and Nazi amnesia, that has forgotten to read the Bismillahi moon book of La ilaha illallahing love light. And that's the deception that this monster is using for getting the people away from the book of life. He just funds by means of his orangutans in bin Salmani family of his slaves in Saudi Arabia, in many other countries over there that are living. When you see the Bedouin Arabs in high rises competing in making high rises, then you know that the Isahi hour of the judgment is close. And so what they do for the Dracula, to maximize the number of the casualties and the victims that are being taken away from the rocky cornerstone, is to make bunch of head chopping foamy funky Muslims or barren bigoted Christians that are Christians, and then with a black flag of La ilaha illallah, or there is no God except God, and then that way they can basically sell their poisonous plagued goods and stuffs in the spiritual marketplace. That, well, look at the Muslims that are doing decapitating people or that kind of things, and so now we have the cure. How about taking the LSD tab? Come and have fun with us. And so that's how Dracula is getting everybody away from embarking in the mothership and enjoy the and so forgotten to read the Bismillah moon book and enjoy the love story of Rosahi rendezvous with Ruhi Rock, Ruh. Ruh means face, Ruh means the spirit. They are coming from the same root of Ar-Rahman. We will talk about this in his explanation. That's why anti-Christian amnesia of Nazi Igel, Aqol, Ejel, Kaf in all the languages that you see here means eagle in English, that is actually calf. Gets him and victims of his Shaktic wickedness to ignore and attenuate the Christ Karimi foundation of the concrete master creation of Allahi abstraction, and after lowering the merciful meaning and love-lightful position of Love Lord's Ladon Adoni Lamp, make a mole monkey model from our messianic master. And so we call it plagiarism, or we call it a counterfeit model of reality, or something that is talking about a Big Bang, that or a relativity of his of the famous Bodhisattva of the end time, Albert Einstein. That is a dead idol. The idols are not something that are made from woods and stones. Albert Einstein is an idol that is made from woods and stones of the Galilee garden. Forget about this materialistic world. And so we will look at his model. His model is just like a plagiarized model of the real BDCT and model that I have developed, not by myself. I used it from the model that the Logos is using. Anything else that we are talking, we are just we are the shadows of that light. And so all that we can do is either refer directly to the source and not to plagiarize it, or like these monstrous Upanishad reading orangutans with urinated skulls and brains. You make plagiarized models. A mole monkey model in which la ilaha illallah in Ladon is lower to another stochastic scum. That is what they are actually eating. Another psychic accident, another raw datum, another faulty default, or another false construct that is grounded in supersymmetrical scale of spider strings. But even the idea of the string theory, in fact, is coming from the Nataf or Notfe model that is mentioned in Holy Quran, the sperms of the psychic state. The real or even the idea of the atoms are coming from the alam of Zur or Zurriye, or the realm of the soul seeds. And so the strings, just like the flight that you see the birds, and then we become inspired by our peripheral environment for our inventions, which are not inventions, are just copy pasting and plagiarizing what is around us. Again, because we don't have any monkey mind is empty, doesn't have anything of itself. We have at one side the Diva Devi devils of Dios, Zeus, Pita, and at the other side we have the angels. Those ones, or the Asuras of the Mahishasura or the Christ. They feed us with love. These people are feed us with shadow ideas, which linger or languor on an alaki or alaki or leaked lay as long leaking as Planck lens. And so all this realm of these lenses and these strings are all mentioned in Holy Quran. This is how monk, mole, who the hell are these Buddhist monks? These are the Shakyamuni monks. These are the Sagi monks, or the doggy psyches with the Suki or Sukhi or Sexy or Sixi or Six Bozani, or the Shitian or Sitan. These are the ones that she powered or energy powered or sacred powered chimpanzees. They all basically of Galilee Garden. That's where they receive their energy from Galilee Garden. Or Anakimi, Ant Valley, or Wad of Naml. We will talk about it, about the Valley of the Ants. Or muddy matrix membrane, or qarar or makin, or the dry land, the two columns, the two legs. One is on the dry land, and then we call it the malakuti membrane, and the other one goes into the deep sea. And so the malakuti membrane is where in Hades or construction pit, or our sperms or strings are vibrating attached to that membrane, matrix membrane. All of these are coming from what we have it in Holy Quran, and this one is mentioned in verse 23:14, and then that membrane is mentioned in verse 23:13. These are the orangutans. These are the monsters, super vicious, sick psychopaths of Shiva Shakti. It's the same filth. So these are the ones that go and read the book of life, and then they come and then genetically modify it, and then they give that evil idea to everybody. Why? Because once on the day of the truth the curtains falls, and then we see the book of life and the truth, and then we see that how with the eyes wide shut they were stealing our choice of repentance through Allah and kissing His Christ Karimi handa, then the sorrow fire of hell will intensify, because the more you see how close you were during your worldly life to grabbing the choice of winning the ticket to heaven, the more the sorrow will be painful for you. And so that's the hellfire. Forget about the physical fire. That's just like a joke in front of the psychic fire of sorrow and regret. Because again, and so that's what these people are doing. If we see the Darwinism, it is because of the قرارة خاصة that is mentioned in Holy Quran. All that these people need to do is to get everybody cut from reading the book of life, from the Bible and Holy Quran, so that they can get to you to buy their Darwinism. That's it. So once the curtains fall, then you see that you have bought something that is what God has been calling these monsters, these Einsteins, these Ramdasses, these Alan Wattses, these Terence McKennas, these Stone Ape Theory producers. And so once you buy that, then you have only one chance to buy, and your currency is your soul. You buy that, then you lose the chance of buying the Christ Karimi curing kit, or the cornerstone that God lovingly gave it to you freely, but you lost it, unfortunately. And so tend to lower the Laduni moon book and make another Bindu break for him in his blackly Big Bang building block that completely blocks the beauty and feminine beauty with the ultra masculine misogynistic way. Just look how they are, what they've done to Vietnam, what they've done to the even the same poor Japanese that are worshipping this Buddha Abudan. This is the same monster that is dropping a nuclear bomb on them. It doesn't again, this Buddha Abudan doesn't have mercy for anyone. He is the adversary of human spirit, okay? And so all of those gentle, delicate, fragile parts of the human psyche that Islam and Christianity tends to safeguard is actually being blocked by this chimpanzee. And so from becoming part of the belief building or the tertiary temple of life. And so this is how Tower Well of Babylonian mentality or Neoplatonic nakedness or the one or the Brahman Ein Sof Nu'es and Ein Sof Outward Word Soul or the Barack Obama or the Buddha Abudan has been dog erected Tower Valley gradually from medieval to modern time by master mold masons and Buddhic badger builders, because they dig the whether you a pig or you call it badger or you call it mold or you call it termite, I'm talking about the same builders that have rejected the cornerstone and now has reached to its maximum haughty height, which is signaling out gay prides. It's just like a very late end time type of symptom of a much bigger, sicker corrosion, deeper corrosion, and so I will take you all the way back to that the corrosion that this just is kind of a sideway symptom of it. According to definition of Platonic realism or universal Ein Sof are or are abstract predicates. Universals are abstract predicates of concrete particulars or properties or attributes. These universals, they are in three levels of Ein Sof hour, and so like gay pride, for instance, gay pride or genetics. Abstract universals or Ein Sof hours are similarities and commonalities based on type, quality, and relation between different arrangements and kinds and gunas or gunes in Hindu theology of concrete particulars. And so the golden calf, eagle, egel is universal Ein Sof hour or pineal gland, weight, diamond, tumor, trishul, shuli, thunderbolt, or we call it King Kong, gold. This is the gold on top of the Daniel 2 verse 35. A strong Vajra, that is also mentioned in Avesta. We call it mace, or Qodde, or Gada, or Gors in Persian, or in Holy Quran terminology. It is called Vajra or weight. Is universal pineal gland that has been giving his kikang or ri or pharaonic ra'a or that real fire to universal Kabbalism from Maya and Mazatec and Aztec and Nordic and Siberian and Amazonian shamans to Tao, Plato, Jewish rabbi, rabbis, Newton, Einstein, Copernicus, and that is how they have gradually built and dug the transhumanized. Because if you want to make it transhuman, first you have to completely acid wash the definition of human, okay? And so the transhumanized travel of the Vayu void of the Babylonian mentality of Daniel 2:3-32, above and under the golden Gada gland of Hari Hanuman, is governing the Gaugian globe, what we are in it now. And so in this mindset, if you just butcher all the 2 million brothers and sisters in Gaza Strip and pulverize all of the churches in States and in Canada, sum total of the Muslim and Christian population and Zoroastrian and Sabaean or Sabaean spirits on the world that are less than 10%, the real ones, cannot say anything, because our crisis is the crisis of the definition of a transhuman, definition of a human, because the human rights organizations of Dracula are supporting the things that we call them apes. These are the people that are these transhumanized ones are the ones that all their satisfaction, their hippie happiness comes from one thing: hormonal balance of the sexual orgasms and the good vegetarian, fresh, fruity diet and that kind of thing. Although billions of people are in starvation. There are many eschatological hadiths about this fertility fart that has come and has brought abundance and at the same time starvation, extreme abundance and extreme starvation, extra weights and fat people that are basically sick in the same way that some people are actually very lean, what do you call it, skinny, or in a very dire starvation. They are basically the symptoms of the same Hindu filth that is around in the dark house, in his dark house in Washington. It is this reincarnation is parallel of the anti-resurrection, about which we read, for her arrogance of calling sag or dog or psyche or sexy or sixy or shikus or hexagram or sexagram or sexagram particle as God particle. Okay, it is just mentioned in Asra 20 verse 88. Okay, that also is mentioned here too, the golden calf. In her Durga dragonic LHC, or this chakram weapon, if you look at the Durga dragon, Durga filth, you see in her hand, she has different weapons. One of the chakram disc that you see in her hand, that is the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. They have made, they're making another one in China. Meanwhile, they're getting the entire world to think that the U.S. is a government. The Nazi owners of the U.S. government are opposing the Chinese chimpanzee and communists in the government of Xi Jinping. But again, there are two sides of the same Curse Krishna scratchy coin. And her heart-sealing sins like natural tabi'at, taboo, tab, coming from the same root, nakedness of survivalist and Darwinist mini monkeys and androgynous apes in Amazonian jungle of queer Krishna King Kong are piled all the way up to the heartly heaven, and God has remembered her cursed crimes. Deal back to her Dark Durga Dragon Drugger, a Statue of Liberty lady, even as she dealt out, because she is destroyed, plus the 25 elders that of the pharaonic fart of Buddha Abudanic belly that are mentioned in Ezekiel 11 or Ezekiel 8, the 25 or in Isaiah 19, the advisors and the council of the fartful pharaoh, or Barack Babun Obama, with the false prophet, the Dalai Lama, dirty Dalai Lama, devil Dalai Lullaby, and those kind of people, they are destroying the earth, and so with lies, and so that's why all the living organisms are basically failing, because we are in a crisis, our species in a crisis, and all the other species are infected by the virus that is in us, are piled all the way up. And so like as she dealt out and paid to her double, because this whore is the one that is attacking to the mother or to the father, to everything. That's what I'm gonna do to her and to the zombie victims of this apocalypse, as benefits her deeds, which is partly what I'm going to do in the measuring witness by excluding her and inhabitants of her ministerial mentality or Maya mirage or scarlet mirage from the inner courtyard. In the cup in which she had mixed world wars and nuclear bombs and Shakti shocks and DMT dynamos and Holocaust lies and Palestinian occupations, or even the arrogant words that comes out of the mouth of the little horn in Daniel 7, like the books and the publications of Salman Rushdie. Curse of God be upon him and all of the buyers of his books altogether. Salam of Allah be upon Imam Khomeini that did the fatwa against that piece of filth, as well as the rest of the people that are against the Book of Life, and 9/11s, the false flags, or the Gulf of Tonkin, or the recent oil tanker false flags that are that the state is making in order to attack, in order to have the higher hand against the military forces of Iran. Unfortunately, at the moment, we have to be attacking to the Israel. It is full of pride parades and filthy soldiers and Christian and Muslim slaves of the Dajjal and Antichrist. Not dealing with them by political negotiation. It's better to actually die in this crisis. It is shameful for us to be alive in these dark hours. Mind colonialization and Jungian psychologists and Freudian sexologists mix her a double. As much she glorified herself as the land of liberty and freedom of speech, that is not actually freedom of speech. Look at the number of the Christian brothers and sisters that are preaching Bible and then they're arrested as the hate speakers. Because they oppose with the sodomy filth of these orangutans, or but actually many of them are so much innocent that they don't know about the Egypt. They all know only about the Sodom side, but they don't know about the Egypt side. The electricity that they use, the dollar that they're using, the wonders, the car, the airplanes, all of those things that are scapegoats and the scientists that have made, or the global warming lie, or the heliocentric lie. As much as she glorified herself and the sun worshipping, that is, we will read about it, and experience luxury, that much suffering and mourning deal back to her. For she says in her, this is Satan, for Satan says in her sealed heart, or tapped heart, I sit as a queen of Gaia Gap, or the Gaia, the horde that Baraki Dildo has penetrated her. On my Barack Obama Dracula Dildo, or Target Line Gatuka Bahini Singa, or 11-pointed star. The Statue of Liberty is on an 11-pointed star, or the 11-horned Buddha beast of Daniel 7:7. And no video am I. The meaning of the bell is the husband or the boy, and so like the boy is joined in with me, and so now we have become 108. We will talk about that too. Ishtarat is the meaning of that, and no video am I. And morning no video am I, and morning I and my fertility concord will never see. Because of this, her blows will come in a single day, inshallah, and death and mourning and famine, and she will be consumed by fire of burning charcoal, or Christ Karimi boulder book, but the other side of that fire, the fire of wrath. For Abel is the law of Lord Allah, who sentenced her into her damnation, because she, the Satan, and her reincarnationist reptiles denied the Kali or the Shakti, denied the resurrection, Ruh Rak Roh judgment day door of Ar-Rahman that gives merciful purpose and meaning to his master creation. And we did not create and separate, divide, exclude the heaven and earth and whatever is between them for purposeless and random playing. So God is saying that I'm not just playing of CTD, which is the this is the model of the baboons of the planet ape, creation, transformation, destruction. There is a resurrection rendezvous between lovers and the Bismillah Moon Book of Love Life, where when married bride and her burning husband go together to thank Allah at his Shekinah presence or at the honeymoon in the Moon Book Mount of Sinin. So had we intended to take an entertaining pastime or playing or like purposeless creation, but recreationally creating, tediously transforming and sadistically destroying, that's what the Hindu apes believe, we could have taken it from what is with us, if indeed we were to do so. Rather, we are not psychopaths. And there is a grand design and purpose for this master creation. Rather we dash the ruh raki truth, haq, hakak, hokios, hukhta in a Western language, of resurrection, judgment day door, Christ Karimi cornerstone, upon battle or Buddhic falsehood or Zen guess upon phony falsehood of reincarnation, and part the power well of Babel, of Belbab. So Yahusha, his Sakhre or rock of 1863, the truth destroys the virus, or the purpose-eating parasite program, or the parvatic plug of the Angramaniyu in Avestan language is what we call him as the parvatic means the angry spirit, or maniyat, or the sperm. The angry sperm is what the scarlet sex beast, the red bull, has. It's just too angry. Look at the number of the military arsenal that Obama has gathered. I'm talking about not only USA, I'm talking about the French military, but Erdogan military, Bin Salman military. This is he's angry, eh? he's angry at heart. It's just dumped, and his time is too short, and so, and behold, it is vanished. And so, as you can see here, it is just talking about the play, random, stochastic, quantum garbage, whatever you want to call it, relativity. These are all going to go, because the foundation or the cornerstone is there. And who is holding the cornerstone from not falling into vanity? God. We will talk about that. The only one God. And vow to you for what you ascribe to Allah with your God particles. Okay, God doesn't become a particle or a sperm like that. To him belongs whoever is in heaven and in the earth, and those near him at their halal Yahuwallahi hearts are not prevented, sealed by arrogance from making love with him through his worship, nor do they tire. There's no tiredness in that. They exalt him in Subhanallah, in Sufi sails and somersaults, night and day, and do not slacken. Or have men taken for themselves gods from the earth who resurrect and yanshurun and reward up or Manshur in Firaq Manshur by his Villahi Vinda Riza the stretched hand for Sufi swords who river and run and rotate around the world. Allah, had there been within the heavens and the earth gods beside Allah, God of Isa Messiah, or the victorious Ritra, this is another name that we are going to look at it, and the name of the Christ in Rig Veda of the Hari Helions is Ritra. That is actually what we also call him, or Varte, or vortex. Or vertex, or vertical vortex, which means the enveloping expanse, encircling firmament. Although I have to, there is a little bit of explanation here, but the firmament is pure. I have to put it in pure red color. But as for now, because he's not only enveloping and encircling the heaven, but also the hell. Christ is the vortex inside whom is or the computer, and we are the programs, many programs inside the computer. Some of us will be dumped into the recycle bin, and some of us have the blessing opportunity of going to the desktop and then seeing the Allahi operator that is outside of the computer. But the only way to work with the only operator, the living thing outside of our simulation, is through the computer, Christ the Karimi computer. And so one of the names is vortex or varte, and so the firmament is part of it, or the pen of God. We call it raqiya or raqiya. So many scholars in Christian neighborhood, unfortunately, they are close-minded, close-hearted, because and because they are only isolated in Genesis. For instance, Genesis 1 is using raqiya many times. But if you want to know about the raqiya, the very same thing with the same implication and meaning is mentioned in Holy Quran too. Chapter 52, verse 3, Rakul Manshur, the firmament of the swirling, Sufi swirling, whirlwinding, yanshuruning, nashring, running, singing, and soaring, and counterclockwise. Whirlwind, Raqiya. In English language, it is coming from the root word of erection, and so this is the this is the vertically elongated, but the Dead Sea is flattened. They both would have been ruined. So what was it? Had there been within the heaven and the earth any other god, like two gods, like one god fighting with another god, they both would have been ruined. And so they are in perfect order, but it's in absolute monotheism. But again, the parasite is allowed to exist, the Angaramaniui spirit of the Shakti or Kali, so that the freedom of choice can exist for our test simulation. So exalted is Allah, love Lord of Ariz Arsh, or we call it Arsh, or the white Arsh. We will talk about this later. but above of what they describe. But the disbelievers, their deeds are like a Maya mirage in sandy deserts outside of the Medina of Shinar Shanar. We call it Shani Nar. Shani comes from Shin. Sin in English comes from Shani, or Sin, Shem, or Zana, Zin, or Shani. In Hebrew, 8152 and 8144 go together, plus energy, or nar, or fire, or energy. And so this Shinar is the sand dunes, or the sand desert, or the wilderness outside of the heaven. Their deeds are like a mirage in a sandy desert, which the man parched with salty thirst mistakes for messianic waterword of life. This is the mirage in which they are living. This is the sarab, or the mirage in which they are living. And so this mirage is only there in order to get the parched man to walk and use or waste its free will toward this, just like the orangutans that are pride parading in the end time spirits of Sodom and Egypt, and they think that they're gonna win the tag to heaven and that kind of thing. But again, the Buddha beast system is just there to get them to not to lose their homosexual hope, and they just continue in their filth and in their evil, uful, falioni, fall down. In sandy deserts, and so like until when he comes up to it with foamy promises of Krishna, all the Rig Veda rot is basically this a story of this mirage, and sticking to the plain papers. Again, because it is completely blank, you're not reading anything. You're just flirting with what you call it, sacred geometries and sounds, but again, you're just like, you think that you are reading something, but you are black hole gazing. Until when he come up to it, and then he finds it to be nothing, no particle, no subject, no object, no victory over the Ritra. The Ritra is going to pulverize the thunder under Indra of bottomless pit, that down there, as well as all of the Yugi maggots of the thoughtful Pharaoh all together. Now watch what the Chinut Pretum tongue, or the bridge, or the beam beacon of that comes out of the mouth, or the eye, or the face of the Christ is gonna do to you. Now, as for now, you can use bulldozers to demolish the Palestinian houses, but they have an owner. And you're raping his bride. Now look what the husband is gonna do to you. And actually, he's a jealous husband, full of Chassidic love and gairat for what these filthy Muslims and Saudi Arabia, this bin Salmani empire of the Dajjal is doing to the Muslims in Yemen, or to the Muslims in Iraq, or betraying to the Muslim resistant forces in Gaza, Palestine, all over the place. And so, but he finds with him behind Isahi Eden they door. Here is the Genesis 3:24, or Holy Quran 18:31, or actually Holy Quran verse 7 chapter 7 verse 20-22, with flaming sword word that comes out of the mouth of the love lamp, and Allah will pay him his account, and Allah is swift in paying the account. Just one glimpse at the face of the Christ the Karimi Salam screen, or the hijab of Allah behind it, is enough for you to see that you muffed your entire life in ignorance, in rejecting the love source. Was showing shaloming to you, saying salam, 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 and then you were going around filthy mirages and doing yoga and yoking to Durga dragon and the tree of evil and bunch of garbage, Shinari sand dunes, letting go of the rock. And so, but as for now, come. If you want to attack, attack. You have prepared your way. Now you're more than welcome to attack. And Allah will pay him and the rest of the orangutans with him all together. This Barak Baboon and the rest of his Ganesha gangsters. Then is one open-minded and pig-mole badger swine who goes bindu blindly groping on his face, better guided, or the one who reads the word of the book of life and walks upright toward a straight path. This straight path is the Chinut Predom or As-Serat bridge in Avesta or in Halegoran, or the benign side of the double-edged sword that comes out of the, again, there is no mouse, there is no sword, there is no, it is just being beacon. You just see the beauty. It is like going to an art gallery. You either can acknowledge the beauty, or you are not a connoisseur of the beauty in order to be someone that relate to that art piece. In the same way, all of your life, if you are a if you are an artist, or if you are a quantum physicist, or you are a global warming person believing in this kind of rubbish rots and lies, and then you will see that the only ones that have been making love with the love Lord, the ones that have created added value to life, are the ones that have been making love with the love source, and the rest is just garbage. And so one glimpse to the Christ academic countenance of Allah or the book of life is enough for you to see whether you were investing on the straight path or no. This is called, another way of it is the mirroring, mirroring your own choices. I have developed a geometry that is called bidirectional double connective neurological model of consciousness, BDCT, and model that by benefiting from scriptural addresses, Ashab al-Raqim, here in Ashab al-Raqim, numerical addresses, you see the numbers and the codes that I place all over. I'm trying to weave all the holy scriptures together, the camel wools together, to make an iron garment, because my ex-wife is beaten completely with all the tarantula and scorpion stings, as well as Emily Jezebel. Want to see if I can detox her, because she's completely up to the brim, is full with the pig piece, her heart pitcher full of kirtan crap that is inside. We will look at that, the name of the eating of the khinzir, which is called Sukra Modava or Sagar. Her belly or her button is full of Sagar, is the name of the hell, a tree in hell, from which the people of the hell are feeding them their bellies. So I'm going to see if I can get her to puke and repent that filth. Again, like those things happen. Sodomy just vanishes like that. Sodomy is just like a surface thing of a much deeper psychic malfunction or possession. Who goes into blindly groping. And so look, but here you see how faithfully God is saying that the ones that sit in 666 meditation or groping or working on thinking about Mars mission or those kind of things, groping is not like looking. These are just two different phases. And so Bindu blindly groping on his face toward the mirage or the sarab, or the ones that are guided and are kind of sticking to the straight path. I am the way to Allah. Who says that? That's the straight path. That's the Holy Qur'ani name of Christ, as one of the names of Isa. Better than any form of the good in Platonism. And so my BDCT and modern will do the job. Assimilates the characteristics of the generality and reasonability and time independency. I'm going to use the BDCTM model for my Medadi measurement of the Turturi temple and his inner courtyard, who is sword-walled or the fire-walled. Zechariah 2:5 or Genesis 3:24. Against perishing particulars of the outer pit, that its universals is nothing but a Buddha Abudan and bunch of Om Mani Padme Hum noises. Pit and particles of CTD plane. This is the depths of the tragic end for consciousness to believe that alright, Shiva is the god of destroyer god and that's it. And so like forget about the resurrection. Now you've reached the moksha again. We need the resurrection here. We need to come out of this trash triangle and then make it a Christ cube kibotosi. It's the Kabe that adds value to this thing. In this plane something is written. God is not the psychopath to just destroy everything and just make a playing and pastime creation. The ones that are butchering and making Nakba Day and butchering the Palestinians, or producing Saddam Hussein that attacks to Iran, or getting the Pakistani forces to attack to Bangladesh and butcher them so that they can go and buy from bunch of Hindu filth in India weapon in order to fight back the another Muslims, and then all of these things there will be a skill and judgment for it. Although they think that they're very smart. BDCT and lingo geometry could be looked as a semantic sediment with low-level logic, as much as my monkey brain, from Logos-Angelian language or Mantakoter, or the logic of the birds, of Ladon Adon Din, which means lending down. The deen, because the deen lends down or gives down, or even dinar comes from the same root. Dinar means money, the coins. And so Adon comes from the same root word, which means lender. of judgment, of logic, of anything. That's why it is like a deen. Also, that's another name of the basically what we call it as the Lord is basically one of the names that we use as for Christ. What is the ladun of Allah? What is at the right hand? But right hand, there is no right hand left over there. Up there we have the higher and lower, and so what is down under the throne of Allah, what is hawlaha, hawla arshaha, arshahu, is we will look at that iris around the pupil, or Christ Kareem, ring, the nimbus around the love Lord. I will use the BDCT and mapping for the unexperienced readers so that they could have a more tangible understanding about the metaphysical dimensions and tryptamine-induced hallucinations that are portrayed in Balagh al-Mubin. This is one of the mentions of the logos. Balagh, like blog, and so this means a maturity or utterance. Like in Arabic or in Persian, we say someone is baligh. Baligh means someone that is mature enough. When you become baligh, then you can talk. And so logos means talk or word or logat in Arabic, or in logos is mentioned in Holy Quran as hikmatul balagha or chokma logos. Hebrew Greek combination. Hikmatul balagh, hikmatul balaghat, or balagh al-mubin. We will talk about the bina or bayan, or the talking. And lectures and scriptures about that are portrayed in legacy lectures and scriptures of Christ class cup. Episode 4, Moses. So now we, I think, know enough about the universal Ein Sof hour of the Kabbalistic chimeras that are giving a spirit in 3 levels of Ein Sof, and Ein Sof hour to black ball, to nothing, and they want to maximize the number of the victims that are buying that lie, that plagiarized lie, the counterfeit of the truth, that parasitically is made by the angry spirit or maniyu. And so episode 4, Moses on Mount Sinai. Now Moses has left the camp, and the summary is a bunch of Hindu orangutans and Pharaoh, followers of the Pharaoh. They are having a calf party over there, like a Burning Man party over there, because they are making the Barack Hussein Obama, or the Caesarta. And we appointed with Moses 30 nights, and we perfected them with 10. So the fixed time of his love Lord was perfect for 40 nights. And Moses said to his Basiji brother Aaron, be my successor among my people and act righteously. Do not ever follow the ways of the corruptors or mufsidin. And when Moses arrived at our appointed time, and his love Lord spoke, kalema in Arabic or in English, or proclaimed to him from behind his Isa, his salam screen, he said, my love Lord, show me yourself that I may look at you. Allah said, you will not see me, but look at the Galilee Gardenic mountain, or the Jebal or Jen, or this fish whale fountain, genie whale, Tanin, this gigantic whale of the salt waters that are in 3 different colors. These mountains, that Hiram have been basically working with his mason workers and excavating and then getting stuff, bringing them for purification and then making the temple. White and red and black are the three colors of the again, these are the colors of the word of colorless and patternlessness, and so they have their own implications. White and red and black ash form, or Afrit, Afar, Ifrit, Aphrodite, and coming from the same word, if Aphrodite, or the aphrodisiac, which means soil, or the sexual or sex enhancer. We call these kind of gene whales as efrits. They are providing they are the sources of the amino acid for the pots, like the springs of the mud for a potter in the pottery pit, that from which different types of John or Jen or gene or base psyche is made, is genesis or generated. If it should remain in place, then we will see, then you will see me, if you can see. But when his love Lord appears through his Ladoni lamp logos, moon book, or Kitabul Munir, the moon shining moon book, to at the dark night of the pottery pit, to Genie mountain, he rendered it level, or Dakka, or Dakka, or flatten, like deck it down, or Dahaka. And Moses fell unconscious, and when he stand that, and who can stand that love lighter? And thus then more days were added to the to perfect the 30. And when he awoke, he said, exalted are you, Subhanallah, Sepastos Allah, or Sebomai Alua, or Shabach Alua. I have repented to you, and I am the first of the believers, or Amanah dwellers. Of course, but this first is talking about, we will talk about this first of the Mu'minin. Allah said, O Moses, I have blessed and chosen and cleansed and erected your heart mast, Stafaituka, you over the people with my mercy messages and my messianic word, and my proclamation or claim or kalimat is set upon you. So take what I have given you and be among the grateful. And let's flash back to the beginning of this appointment in another account. Allah said, and what made you hasten from your people, from another surah. And so when Moses comes toward the mount of the meeting, not here in the 20th mount or Mount of Taha, or Christ the Karim presence, under the two legs or the two figs or the recessed niche, the two sides of a recessed niche. O Moses, what have you made hasten from your people, O Moses? He said, they are close upon my tracks, and I impatiently hasten to you, my love Lord, that you be pleased. Said he, yet surely we have already tempted and fatanad and tested your people after you with a fake mirage choice, with our Dajjalic decoy and Soma stone summary, or the bad Samaritan, the Qi or Rikangi goldsmith, Riki goldsmith, or Kikangi goldsmith, has led them into error, whole lotusy flower of life in loss. And now, like bunch of psychedelized primates on hypnagogic hallucination, they are eating abomination, making coward noises of Om Mani Padme Hum. So let's go to episode 5. Moses' return and cleansing of the Israel from Egyptian Israelis and Bel shamans happens, and their queer calf King Kong Nazi eagle is killed. Barack Hussein Obama. So Moses returned to muddy milieu of his plagued people, angry and sorrowful. He said, "Oh my people, did your love Lord not give you a beauty faithful promise, or ideni id, ya'da or va'ade, or manamunig meeting with the messianic moon, or Moed in Genesis 1:14, there's a light that you can distinguish the seasons in the middle of nowhere in wilderness, or Hosanna Hideidor, or Hasanan, or Chesen in Greek, Arabic, and Hebrew, then or treasure Daedor, precious Daedor, then or beautiful Daedor, that's the meaning of Hosanna. We will talk about it. Then, did the Christ Karimi cow covenant seem long to you, or were you willing to have anger alighted on you from your love Lord, that you failed in your pearly promise to me? And as soon as Moses returned to his people, in another account, we're reading the same thing, angry and sorrowful, he said, "What an awful thing you did. Look at this Caesarta psychopath, this piece of filth. In my absence, did you forsake the Christ Karimi, commander of your love, Lord, so hastily?" And he cast down alqa, the tablets, and so he cast down the alwah, or the two tablets. These are not the tablets in hand. No one has two tablets in hands. These are the great name bearer. Okay, so Christ, so the Moses activates his villa for as the great name, or Allah name bearer. The left and right Ida Pingala hands, who is heartfully kept by his Ida Pingala hand-winged sandals, and turned on his Subhanallah singing Stafa. Okay, so now the master shaman, Shekinah shaman of the Israel is armored with by a bunch of mushroom for cleaning the camp of Israel from queer, curse, Krishna, scratch, presence of the Barack Hussein Obama. And so now this is a very dangerous staff, and it is armed. And Shekinah Shaloma showers through his shining Sushumna. In other one word, he activated his solar scepter for cutting the Krishna cursed crabs and spider ritual strings. We will read later in 754 that after the execution of evil eagle or golden calf and its foamy fans, when Moses picked up the tongue tablet or drop staff, he reads in him reward from Allah for cleaning and for killing the filthy yogis over there. And took hold of his Aronahi brother's head, dragging him toward himself. Now look at this. If you think that Arona has made the Barack Hussein Obama. Arona said to Moses, son of my mother, surely the Israeli people of Pharaoh deem me weak in my resistance against their pagan party, and were almost about to kill me. That could lead in more escalation in Israeli camp. So don't make the eagerly enemies to gloat over me, and don't set me among the unjust people. Moses said, O Haruna, what prevented you from killing the oming apes of solar calf, or eagle, evil eagle, or Horus falcon, flying Horus falcon, Barack Babun Obama? And so when you saw them going to Galilee, or Zalala, or Lilith, or Zalilith, or Zalalat, or Dal, Sel, they're all coming from the same root. Zalal, Zalal, Zellat, Lilia, Galilea. That's the meaning of the Galilee garden. Or Dalana. Lailat means night, and Dalil means the darkness, or the dirty night ditch.